Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Got What You Asked For. This happened nearly 10 years ago. I work in the IT field, and one of my clients was in litigation over something that I never cared to commit to memory. Well, they call me over and say they must produce emails from the present day back like 5 years. I am thinking I have the emails. Cool, I'll export and send them over via an external drive. Then the client reads the summons. It states printed, floppy drive, disk drive, flash drive or external hard drive. Miss Owner says I want to send them printed copies. I explain the volume of paper it will take and she says to print them. So I'll export them to a printable format and then show Jack how to print the emails. No sir, I want you to do it. Jack's time is too valuable to the company. I'm like, okay, you do understand my hourly rate is way more than Jack's hourly rate? She acknowledged this, so I go, yes ma'am. I grab the client's credit card and purchase some software to export the volume of emails required and convert them to a format that is easily printed. No need for me to work harder than needed. This company has a habit of carbon copying everyone on the team each email, and if there are attachments, that attachment is copied in each email and reply. Some emails had dozens and dozens of attachments. Another habit was not using subject lines. This irked me to the point I had an email rule set that any emails to me were marked as read and deleted if there was an empty subject line. Then an auto reply would be sent, stating what was done with the email. I spent a couple of days exporting emails from a dozen or so employees. I then start the conversion process. On about day 3, I start printing. I try to keep things sorted, but that was just mind-blowing. The email threads with all the attachments had me going in circles. I give Miss Owner an update and she calls her legal representation. She calls me back to her office and says, the summons did not say the information had to be sorted, stapled or labeled on our part. So print. Yes ma'am. I go back to the office I had commandeered and continued printing. I quickly found that if I load all 5 printer trays with paper, I can select a couple of hundred emails and send them to the printer. This gave me time to walk around or surf the internet. I got to the point when I knew the sound of the printer switching trays. I would then refill the empty. This went on for 8 hours a day. The printer would stop after a while and internal fans would spin up and cool it off and then print again. The printer leasing company had to come in and put in a maintenance kit during the job and shortly afterward. When all was completed, I spent over 2 weeks at 8 hours a day billable time and had a pallet of paper shrink wrapped and ready for shipping. Both Miss Owner and I had a bit of an evil grin when the pallet was loaded on the freight truck. Miss Owner took years to pay my employer that time and all the other time I spent on other jobs. Our company did regular IT work for her company before and after this task. She just got slow on paying her bills for the print job and other jobs around the office that we did after this. The print job was thousands and thousands of US dollars. The next story is called Overnight Shipping. I once worked in a merchandise warehouse of a local professional sports team. I was in the e-commerce section and processed online orders with about 3 to 5 other people given the workday. That's 3 to 5 people picking, packaging, processing and shipping a huge load of orders, hundreds a day, so not exactly Amazon. We had a launch of new Nike jerseys that obviously were in high demand at the release. Certain players' jerseys came in late, orders had to wait because of that, and naturally people were frustrated. Especially this one guy, we'll call him Fred, whose order was maybe about a week old and we still didn't have his expected jersey in the warehouse. Sorry about that, but we can't ship something that hasn't arrived at our warehouse yet. But for some reason, those in charge told us to put it on the website anyway and start taking orders with a notice that says, shipping may be delayed, yada yada yada. So we finally get to Fred's order and we process it, 3-day shipping like he asked and paid for. A few minutes after we processed the order, Fred probably got the email notification that we have processed the order saying it will be another 3 days. He called us up super mad that it took over a week for us to process his order. The conversation starts off cordial. He's frustrated and it's understandable. I explain why it took so long, explain why we are just now getting to his order and why it's 3-day shipping. The method he selected. He says, hold on for a second. I hear a door close in the background and then he starts screaming at me on the phone. He was cussing me out, which culminated with his demand for, I want free overnight shipping. He was taking down my name. At one point questioned the name I gave, saying it was fake. Then he was asking for my supervisor and talked with my boss, who eventually caved and gave him free overnight shipping. I was upset about that. I would have just cancelled his order. This was a Friday and we shipped with UPS. UPS doesn't deliver on weekends, so we shipped it one-day shipping. We threw it in the bin for UPS to pick up that afternoon. It arrived Monday, 3 days later. Enjoy your Jersey, Fred. The third story is called Do-It-Yourself Weekend Warriors. About 10 years ago, I worked for a local company that sold power equipment. Most of our clients were landscapers and contractors who either bought or had equipment repaired regularly. We knew all our regulars. It was a great place to work, partly because the owner and our manager have a zero-tolerance policy for customers and clients who were jerks towards female employees. They supported us, trained us well, and didn't gaslight us when we had to deal with jerks. For the most part, our regulars were great, but the weekend warrior do-it-yourself guys were terrible. Most of them had more money than sense and did not need anything we sold for their home projects. One summer we hired a young woman to help on the sales floor on the weekend. She was still in college and kind of lacked confidence. She was great, she had an AG background, she just didn't know our products yet. One Saturday morning she got stuck with a weekend warrior who wanted to buy a mower. He was looking at something ridiculous, a commercial grade zero-turn hustler with a 54 deck. He was not mowing acreage, he did not have a farm, he lived in the suburbs. She took him outside to look at some of the mowers, and before long we could hear him yelling. The manager hurried outside. I was working on a special order when she came back into the store, trying not to angry cry. The owner told her to take a break. The manager finished the sale, and the man then had to go somewhere else to buy a trailer to haul it home, because he hadn't planned for that part. When the dust had settled, I asked the manager what happened. He said the man started yelling and calling her names because she didn't know how to turn on the mower and had offered to go get someone else. The fact that he was asking the question indicated he also did not know how to turn on the mower. I'm no longer shocked at the number of people who will drop thousands of dollars on things they don't know how to use. Later that day, the owner came over to me, sighed heavily and told me the guy had called, demanding we mail him a copy of the manual because he didn't get one. All of the manuals and links to repairs and parts for all the products we sold were on our website. But no, he wanted a hard copy, because he had already been insulted enough and shouldn't have to find it himself. When I brought up the manual, it was 90 pages long. 45 pages in English, 45 pages in Spanish. I printed off the Spanish copy and left it for the mailman. I told the owner what I did when I arrived at work the next day. He just started laughing. When the guy called to complain, the owner apologized and told him a lot of our clients speak Spanish, so we didn't want to assume people only spoke English. The guy returned the mower. We are pretty sure he couldn't figure out how to get it off the trailer. We sold it a week later to a landscaping company. The last story is called Mr. Penny Pincher. My friend is a heavy equipment operator for a company that builds temporary roads for power line, logging, pipeline jobs, that sort of thing. The crew meets up at the yard and travels out to the job site for the first day of the job. They are given a per diem for hotel accommodations for remote jobs. But my friend has a short school bus that he's converted into a camper, so he pockets the per diem. He sleeps in the camper and cooks his own food, rather than eat in the restaurant. He gets along well with the rest of the crew and is able to use their rented rooms for showers and such. These guys were local to the yard, some would get their spouse to drop them off, and one guy would ride his bicycle in. As time went on, the company depended on him to transport a handful of crew members everywhere. His converted bus still had a row of seats, so 4 people sat there and another in the passenger seat, with their luggage piled in the back. Some jerk administrator chewed him out for pocketing the per diem and sleeping in the camper, and told him that he must rent a hotel room if he was to receive the per diem. So, the next job he shows up at the yard in his Honda Civic. They have their meeting and it's time to roll, except that the Civic has his gear and his luggage in the back with the seats folded down. There's no room and there are 5 guys standing there with no transportation. The foreman asked him what the heck is going on. And my buddy explains that since he's been told not to stay in the camper, he doesn't see any reason to pay the extra gas to drive it to the site. The foreman finds out which penny pincher lit my friend up, calls the project manager and asks him how exactly Mr. Penny Pincher plans to cover the cost of getting the crew to the job site. The project manager authorizes the foreman to go and rent an SUV and then blast Mr. Penny Pincher. The SUV is a couple of $100 a day, plus mileage. This is a construction job in the boonies, and the crew that piled into the SUV daily were filthy. When they returned the rental SUV, they were hit with an exorbitant cleaning fee. The next job, foreman told my friend that he was now okay to sleep in his camper and pocket the per diem. My friend said that he rather liked staying in the hotel room, he was fine with it. But since he was saving the company the cost of the rental SUV, if they bumped his per diem up, he's happy to chauffeur the crew. They did. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and would like to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.